Welcome to the Bonding and Beer podcast. This is episode number 5. We're going to talk about bonding to Zirconia, part 2. Let's go. Let me tell you a little bit about what I have been up to. Not much, because they're still doing the renovations. Apparently, it's taking longer than it should. You know, I don't have an office, but I do have a lot of love, and I am committed to this kind of thing, which is generating content, educational content, useful content for everyone. So that's what we're doing this episode from my house again. And I want to give a shout out to all the production team. You guys are doing a wonderful job. Shout out to Jeremy, to Cam, to Mark, and yes, to Chase too, because we got to give him a little bit of love. So, last episode, I had the guys over and we had some burgers and got smashed. I mean, we had smashed burgers and they made me buy French fries and nobody ate the damn French fries, and it was crazy. They sent me a text the night before. Hey, you're gonna have French fries? And then and I bought the French fries and they all forgot. So, this is what happens when people have requests. And then all of a sudden they forget about the damn request. But anyway, again, if you want to follow and find out what kind of beer I drink, where I'm going to be lecturing, where I'm at, what kind of adventures I'm going through, you can follow me on Instagram at Roland Bond. So, whatever you need, you can find me right there. So today we're going to be covering everything related to the bonding protocol to zirconia. In the previous episode, we discussed zirconia as a material, clinical applications, features, benefits, limitations, and evolution. In this episode, we're only going to cover bonding protocols to the zirconia substrate. It's popular. It's interesting. But before we get into that, let's do that other thing that you all like. Let's try this puppy. Let's crack it open. Let's go. Okay, so this one is called Hickster. Hickster. This is from a brewery called Scorched Earth Brewery out of Algonquin, Illinois. Again, supporting the locals. There's no need to do something regarding like a review on like Miller Lite. No, we're not doing that. It doesn't make any sense. If you like Miller Lite, that's your problem, not mine. We're doing craft beer, local. This was brought to me by Chase, one of our team members. Do you like this one, Chase? He does. He's nodding his head. That's good. Okay, fair enough. So this is an American cream ale, 4.8% alcohol content. And the review, it sounds like it was written by Edgar Allan Poe. It's a poem, and I'm going to give it a shot here. Hipsters, okay? The connoisseurs of counterculture and anti-industrialism. This sounds like a communist manifest right from the get-go. This is a beer, bro. But you know what? People like to get freaking creative. Let's keep reading. A tribe that values time, honing their craft, and sharing their passion with others. Not just toiling away at work to make a buck. They're recognized by blah, blah, skinny jeans and driving beer, blah, 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 blah. Our pale, strong, well-carbonated and balanced with a biscuity malt sweetness and whisper of citrus notes. We mash in cracked corn and malted barley and fermented in our open fermenter to give a beer its crisp signature flavor. This is too long. This is just too long. You know what? I'm already falling asleep. I hope this... You like this one, Chase? He gave me a thumbs up. I don't know. But it's just too long. The other one that I had in the last episode, that was good stuff. They said it was all in Japanese. I think it was kombucha something. But Monogatari. That's the name, right? Right, Cam? Monogatari. Yeah, Monogatari. That was a good one. This thing, we don't even know what this is. But we're going to have it anyway. It was suggested by Chase. Have I tried this beer before? No, I have not. But let's crack it open. Let's see. I love that sound. That is a sound of happiness, a sound of freedom. Because you should be free when you're drinking beer. You shouldn't be, no one should hold you or hold you back. Move forward. Now, I'm going to use this guy over here. I'm going to use it on camera. It's called the Physics. This thing provides a pouring procedure that incorporates ultrasonic waves in order to have a better drinking experience. Instead of pouring it directly from the glass, we're going to pour it through here. So this is quite interesting. Let me show you. I'm going to put here, the can, and we're going to close it. And now we're going to pour it. Okay, I'm going to move the microphone a little bit over here and see what's what. There we go. Can you see it, my friend? You see? Is that a good pour? No, it sucks. I screwed this up, but I'm still going to have it. You know what I'm saying? I was supposed to, pull the lever to the other way, but still pretty nice.
Sip, sip, sip.
I'll have this again, Chase. This is very nice. It does smell a little creamy. And as you can see, it's a little bit hazy, not super clear. It is creamy. There's a little bit of kind of like sweetness to it. But I'll give you the full-blown review at the end. But definitely interesting. It's a craft beer. And craft beers are nothing more than an artistic expression of a brewmaster that works in a brewery. So we appreciate that. I know that was poetic. That's how we roll in this here podcast, baby. Let's go. Let's talk about Zirconia bonding. During the last episode where we talked about zirconia as a material, we talked about the limitations. And at the beginning, one of the biggest limitations was people didn't know how to bond to it. So because we didn't know how to bond to it, we basically assumed you couldn't bond to it. And sometimes we humans, due to our lack of knowledge on something, we tend to disregard it. And in order to understand how to bond to a substrate, the first thing you need to do is understand the substrate and understand the bonding mechanism. Okay? And your bonding mechanism or bonding process is tied to two very important, how do I describe it, steps. Okay? You have your mechanical retention and you have your surface chemical interaction, okay? So if you think about, let's say, enamel, you need to etch enamel in order to create micromechanical retention. And then you apply your dental bonding agent in order to create that chemical interaction. On Emacs, you etch with hydrofluoric acid and then to create mechanical retention. And then you apply silane to create chemical interaction. But we didn't know how to create mechanical retention and how to create chemical interaction to zirconia. So we started doing all this testing and trying new things and so on and so forth. There are three ways that are currently used in the research world to determine bonding or chemical interaction. Okay? One way is by measuring contact angle. When you have a substrate and you apply and you measure the contact angle before applying a primer, you should have a difference. And the difference is due to the reaction between that primer and that substrate. So you have an increase in contact angle, okay? Your surface after the reaction should be more hydrophobic. That's basically what the contact angle measurement should tell you after the application of a primer, okay? And this contact angle is a visual way to prove that there is bond, chemical interaction. The second way is by measuring bond strength. You actually generate a sample. You take the surface, you treat it, and then you create a sample, and then you break the sample. You put it under some sort of load, which could be tensile, microtensile, shear, whatever that might be. And you're going to it's going to, give you a number. What was the force required? And the force can be newtons. And then you turn those newtons into megapascals or pascals or whatever unit you're working with. Usually we work with megapascals in bond strength in dentistry.
Sip, sip.
Okay? So that is a physical way of measuring bond. And the third way is a chemical way, which is called secondary ion mass spectroscopy, where you're able to see what kind of molecular reaction you have at the interface. And this is a little bit more complex. I'm not going to get into it, but there are different ways to measure whether there is a chemical interaction between whatever you use and the substrate, okay? So I'm not going to say it's simple to do, but it's doable. You can actually determine whether there is a chemical bond. We knew that silane was not working, bis-GMA was not working, and certain organophosphates didn't work on zirconia. But MDP became available. MDP became available because Curare had MDP, protected by a patent. The patent expired. Now everyone can start working with it, and people started experimenting with MDP. We at Bisco experimented with MDP, and we found out by measuring contact angle, by measuring bond strength, and by measuring, secondary ion mass spectroscopy, that MDP, listen to this, MDP, not Bisco, not the product, MDP as a monomer bonded to zirconia. We found that out. If not the first, we were amongst the first to publish and share those findings. And we were the first company that came out with a zirconia primer, a dedicated zirconia primer. It's called Z Prime. So, and I'm not trying to plug in a product here. I'm not trying to sell you the product. What I'm telling you is history, okay? We found out at Bisco that MDP, which was developed by Curare, not by us, worked on zirconia. And because we had access, everyone had access, we said, hey, you know what? Let's create a product. Let's launch a product, because now we know that you can bond to it. How do you achieve mechanical retention? We knew that you had to sandblast it. However, that's beyond the point. I will go deep into the different protocols, but right now, the main idea that I want you to understand is that research is done in order to determine if something works. And the myth that you couldn't bond to zirconia was debunked a long time ago. So today, 2024, you're watching this because you're a follower. Thank you for following. Thank you for subscribing. Thumbs up. This beer, it is citrusy, very hipster. Today, if somebody's saying you can't bond to zirconia, unfortunately, they're misinformed. Unfortunately, they have not updated their readings, okay? Today, it's incredible that someone would get up and say, you can't bond to zirconia. No, you can. And it's not that difficult, okay? So MDP is the thing to bond to zirconia.
Sip, sip, sip.
So we created Z Prime. And guess what other companies did? They created primers with MDP. To do what? To bond to zirconia. And MDP also bonds to metals. And so, you have products like Monobond Plus. You have products like Ceramic Primer Plus. You have different products that contain MDP that will bond to zirconia. So, Z Prime is launched. It goes out into the market. And we start getting calls. Hey, things are debonding. You're like, what do you mean? Yeah, no, this it's not working. What do you mean it's not working? And then they say, no, this product sucks. And then, of course, I'm thinking, no, you suck. But I can't say that. That's not cool. But why does it work in the lab and it's not working in the field? What is it that is happening? Oh, okay. Somebody started, different groups started publishing, articles that covered the effects of saliva contamination on zirconia. Saliva contains phosphate lipids that will bond to the zirconia surface. So when you apply your MDP, you don't have anywhere to bond anymore. All the bonding sites have been depleted by saliva. So saliva contaminates zirconia. Well, in the lab, we're not using saliva as part of the protocol. Why? Because saliva never contaminated anything. It didn't contaminate enamel, dentin, Emax, metal, nothing. So there was no reason, I'm going to bond to Emax. Here we go, and spit on it. You can't. Why? It doesn't matter because all you got to do is rinse it. But with zirconia, it's a little different now. Saliva touches zirconia, and now you have a contaminated surface. And then after it's contaminated, even if you rinse it, if you put it in the ultrasonic machine, whatever, if you apply your Z Prime or your primer with MDP, the MDP doesn't have anywhere to bond. And now it's not effective. And now guess what happens? There's no bonding or very little bonding, okay? So what do we do in order to avoid this? Well, and by the way, this happens when you try in the restoration. You take the restoration, you try it in, saliva touches it, you're done. You're done. How do you avoid this? Well, you could avoid it or you can correct it. And usually people feel comfortable correcting it. So they try in, it's contaminated, and then they use a cleaner. There are 3 cleaners in the market. One by Ivoclar, which was the first one that came out. It's called Ivoclean. There's another one that we make called Zirclean, and there's another one made by Curare called Katana Clean. Those are zirconia cleaners. After you try in, you apply your cleaner, and then you apply your primer. Row tip, always clean the substrate. If you don't clean it, if you don't decontaminate it, your primer is not going to react with the zirconia. Always clean the zirconia substrate. And don't worry, I will go through the protocols, in the next section of this episode. But cleaners became part of the protocol. We're talking about, we were using zinc phosphate and glass ionomers. Now we're talking about sandblasting, trying in, cleaning, and then MDP. There has been an evolution. Okay? If we do it properly, you can bond to zirconia. And the bond is very good, it's very predictable, and it's very strong. So to answer the question, can you bond to zirconia? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Now, what is the protocol? I have a presentation where I go through 7 different protocols to bond to zirconia. But we're going to keep it super simple here. You're going to ask yourself one question. Who has the sandblaster? Is it you as a clinician or is it the lab? If it's the lab, you tell the lab, sandblast the restoration for me. He sends it back to you, already sandblasted. What do you do now? You try it in. You clean it with something like IvoClean or Zirclean or Katana Clean. Rinse, and then apply your primer. Z Prime, Monobond Plus, Ceramic Primer Plus, MDP containing primer, okay? And you move forward with the cementation procedure. Your cement of choice is up to you. Your adhesive of choice is up to you. Your bonding technique is up to you. Okay, I'm not here to teach dentistry. I'm here to basically share protocols, in this case, how to bond to zirconia. All right? Now, if you're what is the term? If you want to be very cost effective, which is a different way of calling you cheap, which is fine if you decide to be like that. You want to be cheap, and you don't want to spend the $27 that the cleaner cost. Whenever you get your restoration from the lab already sandblasted, you apply your primer before you try it. And now, the saliva won't touch the zirconia. But you can't freak out. Like, oh my God, I got all this saliva. You can't. You need to trust the bond. In bond, we trust. You don't trust the bond, and then get your cleaner. Spend the $27 or whatever it is. Try in, clean, apply your primer. You're good to go. If you have the sandblaster, it's even easier. You get it from the lab, you try it in, it's contaminated now, and then you sandblast. Do you need to use the cleaner? Only if you want a super clean, pristine, whatever. But the contamination, the saliva, you're removing it with the sandblaster. And that's it. Get it from the lab, try it in, sandblast it, apply your primer. Get it from the lab, try it in, sandblast it, clean it with a cleaner if you want to be super, super duper thorough, and then apply your primer and you're good to go. You're good to go. I'm going to tell you why I don't like the lab doing the sandblasting.
Sip, sip.
I went to a lab, a very boutique lab that was offering me the opportunity to lecture to their clients, very high-end lab. And I'm walking around the lab, and I see this kid wearing earbuds, and he's etching a lot of restorations, because he's got, And then I see him, and I started counting the seconds, and it was taking him a long time. So I asked him, hey, what's your name? And then he goes, what? What's your name? Eric. His name is Eric. And I go like, what are you doing? And he goes, etching, duh. This dude, he tells me etching, duh. So yeah, I felt mildly insulted by this, the way he was trying to communicate. And I go like, what are you etching? So he doesn't know. So he yells at somebody in the back of the lab. The guy's name is Francisco. And the guy, he goes like, hey, Francisco, what am I etching? And Francisco replies all the way from the back, Emax ese. So he's etching Emax, right? And he was etching longer than 20 seconds. So I tell the dude, the lab owner, hey, man, this Eric, he doesn't know what he's doing. You got to let him go. He's damaging these restorations. And he said, I can't let him go. I said, why? Because he's my son. So, that's kind of screwed up. You know what I'm saying? At least teach him. So it's not that I don't trust the lab. But the bonding process starts with the generation of mechanical retention. You, as a clinician, are responsible for the full bonding process. Nothing against Eric nor the lab. I just won't be sending my work there, ever. I don't want, I will probably send it to Francisco. He knew what he was etching. Eric didn't know anything from anything. So, road tip. Learn a protocol and apply it consistently. Don't let the noise around social media and don't let the noise that is being brought to you, it's being created around you, like confuse you. Learn a protocol and apply it consistently. Consistency should give you predictable results. There you have it. In a nutshell, I'm going to wrap it up right here. Okay? In a nutshell, the protocols are, if you have the sandblaster or if the lab has a sandblaster. Lab has it, try it in, clean it with a cleaner such as Zirconia, Ivoclean, or Katana Clean. Apply your primer, MDP containing primer such as Z Prime, Monobond Plus, or Ceramic Primer Plus. You have the sandblaster. Try it in, sandblast. Using the cleaner is optional, and then apply your primer. That's bonding to zirconia in a nutshell. So let's review this beer. This little brewski, Hickster, from, what is it? Scorched the Earth Brewery. What's the name of the thing? Scorched Earth. Oh, yeah, you see? So this was brought to me by Chase. I appreciate any free craft beer that is, presented for me to try. And in this case, give my honest opinion. So what do I think about this beer? This beer is definitely an upgrade if you think about commercial beer. You have and this is my opinion. It is not necessarily the opinion of anyone associated with this podcast, okay? This is my opinion. You got some crappy beer in like Bud Light, Miller Lite, Corona. I don't like those beers, okay? They're, during the summer, maybe. If you want to drink a humongous amount of beer, those will do, But then you have commercial beer that are not bad, okay? So I'll give you an example. Yingling. That's a great beer. It's commercial. I like, Pops, the Pops, the Blue Ribbon. I like it. Okay. I think that's an upgrade from Bud Light. This is my personal opinion. This is a huge upgrade from Pop's Blue Ribbon or Yingling. So in my mind, what I like in that order. So this is that upgrade. This is taking you into the craft beer world. It's creamy. It's nice. It is citrusy, but it's not sour though. It is citrusy, but it's not sour. Did it match the brewery description? You know what? That thing was like a chapter from a very long novel written by, I don't know, some famous artist. I don't know, Hemingway. It was crazy. Does it match? Sure. What would I give this guy? I'll give it probably a 3.75, 3.5, something along those lines. Would I drink it again? Absolutely. I will drink it again. I will always drink craft beer again. Okay? Always. So, if you ever have a chance to try Hickster, do they sell this one anywhere, Chase, or does it need to be local? By Algonquin? They don't have it here and where I live?
Sip, sip, sip.
Okay. You're not helping here, brother. No, you did bring the beer. You were helpful. Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining in. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to follow. No, I'm sorry. Fuck it. We got to do the Q&A. Okay, we're not done yet. We got to do the Q&A, questions and answer. So, if you have any questions, you can send your questions by email. bondingandbeer@gmail.com. And we will, answer your questions. Maybe we will use your question in one of our episodes. and answer it there. Okay, so and also you can follow us on Instagram, Bonding and Beer, at Bonding and Beer. That's our account. We're also in YouTube, Bonding and Beer, and so you can find us pretty much everywhere. So this is a question from Dr. Carlo Sandoval from Akron, Ohio. What zirconia cleaner should I use? Well, it's irrelevant. As long as it is a zirconia cleaner. You can use Zirclean by Bisco. You can use Curare's Katana. Or you can use Ivoclar's Ivoclean. Any of those three will work. One doesn't work better than the other. What the difference is in the delivery system. Katana Clean and Ivoclean come in a little bottle, so you need to dispense it in a mixing well or somewhere and then take a brush and apply it on the substrate. Zirclean comes in a gel in a syringe, so you dispense it directly. That's probably the difference. And the price. Price is definitely going to be a difference. So, but you can use whatever cleaner you choose, you want to use. They will work exactly the same. Another question from Denise Daniels, out of Michigan. Is the bond to zirconia similar to the bond to Emax? And the answer is yes, when it comes to values. The essence of the bond is different. The reaction with Emax is the polymerization is by condensation. Silane bonds to Emax by condensation, and MDP bonds to zirconia by addition. The polymerization is a addition polymerization. So it's a little different now. Okay, but the bond strength, value-wise, it's extremely similar. So you really cannot make the point today that I would rather bond an Emax restoration because the bond strength to Emax is better than the bond strength to zirconia. That's not true. Not anymore. Okay, not anymore. So that's not a reason to not use zirconia. Question number 3 and last question. This is from Dental Guru 1999. I shouldn't have said the guy's email. Now he's going to get, we have all these followers, thousands of people and, subscribers to our podcast, and now I just exposed this guy. Please don't send them any emails. That's not right. Don't be in people's business. You know what I'm saying? You can send me an email at bondingandbeer, bondingandbeer@gmail.com. Said right here it says, I attended one of your lectures and you presented yourself as a Venezuelan redneck. Yes, I am. Please remind me why. I want to remember so I can tell the whole story. Apparently this individual was extremely entertained by my redneck story. So I went to school in Birmingham, Alabama. I went to school there, grad school. And people were asking me about, like, where are you from? And I would say, I'm from Venezuela. And then they would say, is that close to Mexico? And it's a little bit more down south. And people, like, where are you from again? So it was always confusing. And one of my professors told me, tell people you're from Dothan. And I will be like, Dothan? Where is Dothan? And he said, it's 50 miles from nowhere. There's nothing in Dothan. It's like a golf thing, PGA golf, and a peanut festival. So I told people I was from Dothan. Now, I did tell my professor, I don't look like I'm from Dothan.
Sip, sip.
And he said, tell them that your mom is from Texas. And I did that, and it worked every time. So I became the first Venezuelan redneck on the face of the planet. I do drive a red pick-em-up truck, GMC, and I carry a shotgun in the back. And I do wear my cowboy hat everywhere I go. Remember to like, to share, and follow. You can find us on Instagram at bondingandbeer. You can find us, you can send us an email at bondingandbeer@gmail.com. And you can find us on YouTube also, Bonding and Beer. Okay, so I'll see you on our next episode. Hopefully, we will do it from our headquarters, and we will talk about silane. Thank you very much for listening. Cheers. What are we doing? Oh, be careful there, Big Daddy. This beer is awesome, by the way.